Hello, everybody. A lot of questions have been asked here in recent days about what's going on in the Middle East with Iran, Iraq, the nation of Israel, the United States of America, who attacked who, and all of this kind of thing. And why is there so much unrest over there in that particular area? Why does it seem like there's always something going on? The activity in the Middle East is so high. And I'll give you a little insight in what I know, what little I know about it. I learned from the Bible. We have to go to the book of Genesis to find all of this out. It goes all the way back to the book of Genesis when God gave Abraham, the father of the Jewish people. He gave him a promise that he said, even in your old age, I'm going to give you a son. He's going to be the promised seed. And that's why a lot of times in the Bible you hear the term Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because Isaac was Abraham's promised seed. Well, before Isaac was ever born, Abraham and Sarah was his wife, said, hey, we need to help God out. We can't have a child in our old age. And so Sarah, Abraham's wife, comes up with this plan and said, hey, Abraham, why don't you go into with the handmaid Hagar, and she's a whole lot younger, and you can have a child with her. And that we're helping God out, if you will. And so Abraham did that. He went into Hagar, and they had a son named Ishmael. That was not the promised seed. That was not God's plan. Abraham jumped ahead of God and didn't wait on the promise. And so that happened in like Genesis 16. Ishmael was born. And you come on down to about Genesis 21. And finally, God gave Abraham and Sarah, I think Sarah was probably in her 90s and Abraham was around 100 or so, and gave them their own son between Abraham and Sarah, and his name was Isaac. Ishmael was born, Abraham's son, by Hagar in Genesis 15 or 16 or somewhere along in there. Isaac, the promised seed, God's promise to Abraham and Sarah, was born in Genesis chapter 21 or so. And so what you have in the Middle East, in Jerusalem, on that Temple Mount, you have the Israelites, the nation of Israel, the Jewish people saying, hey, this is our land. My dad is Abraham. This was promised to us. And then you have on the other side, you have the descendants of Ishmael, the Palestinians, the Arabs, and all of those, the Muslim nations. They're saying, oh, wait, Abraham's our daddy too, and this land is ours. So basically the turmoil, the conflict, the battle is between two half-brothers, Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac being the promised seed, Ishmael, the father of the Muslim nations, the Arab nations, the Palestinians, whatever you want to call them. And that Temple Mount, all of that property is being fought over by two half-brothers, Ishmael and Isaac. So there's where it all started, back in Genesis chapter 15, 16, 17, all the way up to 21. But here's something very interesting. And if you want to know, this is not my opinion, by the way, this is God's opinion. And this may upset some people, but I'm just going to tell you what God thinks. Ishmael was born first, and he was born in Genesis chapter 16. Isaac was born after Sarah and was born in Genesis 21. But then you have Genesis 22 that comes into effect, and about verse 1 or 2, God tells Abraham, Abraham, take thy son, thy only son, Isaac, to a mountain. And of course, we know the story where Abraham was supposed to take Isaac up to Mount Moriah and offer him for a sacrifice there. The point, God didn't even recognize Ishmael as Abraham's son. God told Abraham, take thy son, thy only son Isaac. So when you look over in the Middle East and you see all this stuff going on, it is a conflict between two half-brothers. And we wouldn't be in this situation if Abraham would have waited on the promise of God. And we can all learn something from this. We don't need to be too quick to run Abraham down. Hey, how many times have we jumped ahead of God? How many times have we tried to help God out? So we need to learn from this. Your decisions today will affect future generations all the way down the line. So I hope this has cleared some things up. I hope this has helped in some way to understand a lot of things that's going to go on after the rapture of the church. The tribulation takes place. All of these nations are going to rise up against the nation of Israel. It's going to climax in the Battle of Armageddon, in the Valley of Megiddo, where after this battle, the blood will be up to the horse's bridle for 200 miles in the Valley of Megiddo, the Battle of Armageddon. All of these nations will rise up against the nation of Israel. And God's going to come to their rescue in the second coming of Jesus Christ. Revelation chapter number 19, about verse number 11. And so all of this thing, everything that started in Genesis chapter number 15, where God calls Abraham out, all the way down to the book of Revelation, the end of times, that one decision has changed the history of the whole world. So what can we learn from this? Wait on God's plan. Wait on God's plan for your life. Don't get ahead of the game. And hopefully this has helped you in some way. Keep looking forward and keep looking up.